Welcome back. We have been covering different topics about domestic abuse throughout the month of October, from shelters to leasing laws. And now we're looking at how survivors can protect themselves from their abuser. So we are joined now by McKinley Silvers, who is a domestic relations attorney with Utah Legal Services, to talk a little bit about protective orders. And I know a lot of people get that mixed up between that and a restraining order. So people who aren't familiar with that, can you explain the difference?
Yeah, so a restraining order is generally an order that's included in another pre-existing case, like a divorce, or it could even be in any type of case, really. Protective orders are specific to just protecting victims of domestic violence or other types of violence.
And I think a lot of people understand the basics of a protective order, you know, keeping a certain amount of distance away from that person and the abuser. But what are some things that could be included in the order that people may not realize are options in that?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of things that can be included are things like protecting you when you're at your place of work, or giving you access to your own home if the perpetrator is also living in that home, or access to a car or other personal property. It can also give custody or parent time orders when children are involved.
And I've spoken to survivors of domestic abuse, and oftentimes they mention filing a protective order is such a daunting task. Tell us a little bit about the process that goes into having that protective order filed.
It is a daunting task, and there's nothing worse than seeing someone file a protective order and finally stand up to their perpetrator and then be denied because they filed in the wrong courthouse, or they filed the incorrect type of protective order. There are approximately 6 types of protective orders, depending on how you count them. So there's a lot of different requirements that go into each one.
I had no idea there were 6 different types of protective orders. What are some of the most common mistakes that you see when people file these on their own? What are some things that they could do to make sure that the judge does approve it?
I think the most important thing is really to get legal assistance to file these. They are not straightforward, as nothing in the legal system really is, unfortunately. And so there are a lot of services in the community that will provide free legal services, such as Utah Legal Services or Legal Aid of Salt Lake. And so, as well as resources through the Domestic Violence Coalition. And so people can get help, and I think it's essential that they do, just to make sure they file correctly.
If someone is looking for assistance, maybe they're just plugging something into Google, do you have any advice on how they can find a service near them to find the most appropriate resource?
Yeah, I think the Utah Domestic Violence Coalition can help with that a lot. Utah Legal Services actually covers the whole state, and then Legal Aid of Salt Lake covers Salt Lake County specifically, but many law enforcement agencies also have victims advocates who can help, or domestic violence shelters also often have victim advocates as well.
So there's lots of resources out there for,
yes,
for people who need help desperately.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, McKinley Silvers, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us about these very important services that are offered for people trying to escape a domestic violence situation.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.